Lyndon Labayan.
All right, hi guys, my name is Lyndon. I'm a software developer, hobby wedding videographer, and today we're talking about the Zhiyun Cinepeer Crane 4E. It's the latest entry in Zhiyun's Cinepeer line. I hesitate to call it a budget line because they are affordable compared to other gimbals, but it's very capable. The Cinepeer line is kind of like a no-frills approach to their gimbals. While they cut away all the extra stuff I don't need, it really has the payload that I want for a better price, but we'll get into it. So today's video is just going to be initial impressions. We'll talk a bit about the specs. I'll do a bigger review video, maybe in June, sometime in the summer after I've used it for a couple weddings. So this thing is priced very well. It's 670 Canadian, 679 Canadian, on sale right now for $543, 20% off. I don't know how long that discount goes for, but check out the links in the description below. If you like it, try to catch it while it's on discount. This thing borrows a lot from the bigger brother. I'll say bigger brother, but like it has the same payload. They have a Crane 4. It's black. It has a light, but it has the same payload. It carries 10 pounds. That thing's like $800, $900. This thing's competing at this price range with this payload. This is really competing with the DJI like RS Pro line. I don't know how they're doing it, you know, having it so cheap. Like it doesn't come with a case. It's gray. I don't know why, if gray is a less premium color, but based off the Crane 4, it's got an ergo design. It comes with a stand, but it also just has like this base where you're able to use it as a stand. Pretty well balanced, but I am spoiled now with these accessories. So this sling handle and the wrist rest do not come with it. We'll talk more about that. I'll throw the price up on the screen, but because it's so affordable, I would almost feel fine paying a little extra for these things, which of course it's optional. You could just buy it outright. But yeah, without the accessories, how much does this weigh? So without the accessories, this thing weighs 3.5 pounds. Not too top heavy for me, especially with this wrist rest. So they advertise this reduces wrist strain by up to 25%, lightens load by up to 20% in sling mode. Now the handle can be adjusted. You technically don't even need to sling mode this thing. You could use this as just a second handle. So if you want just more control, you can just use it as a second handle. You don't need to sling this, but I prefer to have it a little longer. Just like that. Little flick of the wrist, tighten and loosen this thing. This thing feels pretty good like this. Wrist rest has this little knob that you just adjust. This is how you adjust it. Look at this thing. That's too high for me, but I prefer it a little lower. Yeah, that's it. Really, really easy to use. Now for payload, this thing holds 10 pounds. I mentioned earlier, like this is competing with the RS line. I bought my RS2 Pro a few years ago for, I want to say $1,100. Crane 4 at about $800 or $900. Same payload.
Okay, so now I'm at 105. Some gimbals, because this was balanced at 50. So at 105, typically most gimbals can handle this. And then most gimbals start to shake here. So this was balanced again at 50, and at 105, this is the underslide. 105, that's nuts. Like it's able to handle that. I have an RS2. The RS2 at 105 balanced at 50-ish would start going like jiggity. Like it would start rocking and shaking. But this, the whole range can do it. That's actually nuts.
Yeah, my RS4 will even shake.
Really? But the RS4 might not compete with this. It's the RS4 Pro, because the RS4 stops at 6 pounds.
I think I have the RS4 Pro.
You have the Pro? Yeah. The Pro's 10 pounds. It should be able to do this.
I was struggling with it last night. I was having issues.
No. Yeah. We got to test that out then.
So this thing also supports native vertical mount built into it directly. You just detach this bottom plate and you can mount it onto the side. Not for me. I don't shoot mobile or anything like that. I don't do vertical, but this thing has it. Zhiyun offers zoom and focus pulling motor support with this thing. It's got a bunch of different USB ports on this thing, both for communicating with the camera, communicating with motors. Again, not for me. It can do it, which is great, again, at this price point. I would choose to have less cables coming out of this thing if I want to pop the camera on and off. I don't like to fiddle with that, especially for weddings. Just not for me. I mentioned all those USB ports, There's a long list of cameras this thing supports, including Lumix, via USB-C. All your camera controls, ISO, aperture, shutter speed. You can control your actual shutter, like start and stop record. As far as like actual controls on this thing, typical trigger on, you can triple tap it to go to selfie mode. I don't use it. I should disable that actually. Before I shoot weddings, I'm going to disable that. Triple tap again to bring it back forward. You can customize what you want this thing to do, but I think, so right now it's like in a sport mode. If I hold it right now, you can lock it in like a certain mode, like pan follow or just pan or tilt or whatever if you want. I think I'm going to keep it in sport mode. I had the Weebill 3E set up this way, and I think I like it this way. It's got a control wheel at the front, similar to how I have the other gimbal set up too. Is I use the control wheel for the tilt exclusively. Now this thing's got a full touchscreen, pretty impressive considering this is part of the Cinepeer budget line. The Weebill 3E did not have a full touchscreen on it, so the fact that this has one, pretty good. Battery life, advertised at 12 hours. Now if the my time with the Cinepeer Weebill 3E was anything to go by, they're pretty conservative with those numbers. So I wouldn't be surprised if this thing lasted way more than 12 hours. Typical shoot day for a wedding though, I'm only using this thing maybe like 4-5 hours, so we'll test it. We'll test it out. The batteries are built in. They don't appear to be removable, but it charges via USB-C, can charge via PD. Charges in 2 hours over power delivery if you've got anything that supports that. So payload to price, 10 pounds for the price, $500-ish Canadian, especially with the discount on right now, versus any other brand out there, including Zhiyun's own Crane 4 at $800, $900. You can't beat this. Yeah, I know there's different types of like genres and different types of shooters out there who demand more from certain types of gear. Cameras for one being another, like camera bodies being one. Everyone talks about like, oh, I need more dynamic range. If I get more dynamic range in my camera body, it's to help me recover from mistakes. Not really necessarily get like a overall nicer image. Like I'm not exposing 100% the time perfectly. So you give me more dynamic range, it just gives me more room to play with to be able to fix my mistakes. Having 10 pounds worth of payload on a gimbal, I'm not using technically 10 pounds worth of gear, but what it allows me to do is take this 24 to 105 and have zero problems. And this isn't even like a dinky ND filter I've got here. This is Peter McKinnon's what do they call it? Hexlock Maglock series VND. So it's got the base plate, a 77mm base plate, which is already just all metal and magnets, super heavy, plus the filter. And this thing does it just fine. This was balanced at 50. Really impressive. So yeah, that's my priority anyway for the gimbal. Can this thing handle underslung or like whatever modes with a 24 to 105 at 24 or 105 when balanced to 50 and not get the shakes or the jiggities? And this thing is doing it. So I can already tell you this thing's going to replace my RS2 Pro, but I do want to use it for weddings. I want to be able to for a fact use it and say it was great. So I want to thank Zhiyun for not sponsoring me, by the way, but sending out the gimbal. They've been great to work with. They understood like timing was kind of off, so they're letting me keep it till June. But yeah, so that's it for this video. Let me know what you guys are shooting with, what kind of gimbals you guys are currently using. Tell me you understand what I mean about like that payload overhead. But yeah, I don't know if I'm getting that across properly. But yeah, like 10 pounds, you know, I don't need 10 pounds, but overhead to be able to mess around with it. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.